I'm gonna give you the 6 red flags to look out for when hiring a property manager so you avoid mistakes and you avoid headache and the disasters that I have seen in my journey as a property management company owner the last 15 years that we clean up regularly here at Good Life Property Management. And I've seen it all. I've met all the property managers. I've been in this business almost 15 years, manage over 1,500 homes. This is gonna help you not make mistakes and at least learn from mistakes we've made in the past, as well as what I've seen other people do wrong and cause a lot of headaches for people. All right, so 6 red flags you need to know when hiring a property manager. Let's jump into it. But before we start, my name's Steve Welty. I'm the CEO of Good Life Property Management. Our mission is to make owning rental property easy. If you get value from this video, please hit the like button or subscribe. All right, first red flag is if they're not affiliated with NARPM or IREM. What the heck is that, Steve? Let me break it down. So NARPM is the National Association of Residential Property Managers. This is the premier education, networking, professional designation company for single family home and condo managers, small apartment buildings as well. Now, IREM is the Institute of Real Estate Management. This is for bigger multifamily properties, commercial buildings. In either case, a property manager that you hire should be affiliated with one of these organizations. And here's why. It shows that A, they're serious about professionalism and growth. They're serious about up-leveling their skills, staying on top of industry trends. There's also a code of ethics that they adhere to that they have to renew every so often. There's just a higher standard. It's basically, by being a member, you're saying, hey, I'm gonna do business the right way, and I'm gonna be working on constantly evolving and up-leveling not just my business, but the industry as a whole. And so these people are always sharing ideas with each other and helping people do better. And it's just a good, simple indicator if people are serious about their profession. The easy way to find out, honestly, is you can look at people's websites. They usually list it somewhere in the footer or sometimes the header or somewhere that they're a member of one of these organizations, or you can just reach out and ask. All right, my second red flag is realtors. Yes, realtors. My people, I love you guys. You send me a ton of business. When I go to sell a home, I hire you even though I have a real estate license, because what you do is hard and difficult and requires expertise. Just like what we do in property management is hard, difficult, and requires specialized knowledge and specific expertise. Now, there are some great realtor property managers. It's not a never do, it's just a red flag to dig a little bit more if a realtor is offering to manage your property or if you're interviewing one. So are they investors themselves? How many properties do they manage? How long have they been doing it? How do they stay up on changes in the laws and industry trends? How big of a portion of their business is management versus selling? Why do they do management and selling? What is their main focus? You know, you want to dig into these things because what happens a lot of times is realtors just fall into it. The market gets soft and so they just start taking on properties. And hey, that's how I got into business 13, 14 years ago, full disclosure. So more power to you. However, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started, but 14, 15 years ago, there was way less laws than there is now. So you used to be able just to kind of wing it. It's like, yeah, I'll do property management. You know, yeah, I'll collect the rent. There's trust laws, how you must handle checks. There's fair housing laws. There's rent control laws. There's notice requirements, how to raise rent, specific disclosures that need to be on leases. There's just way too much to keep up with now, 15 years almost later, that since I started in the business, that a realtor just part-timing it is not gonna cut it. In fact, I went to coffee with a guy who's a realtor in this position recently. He was telling me he's like mainly in sales, but you know, does some management on the side. And I was asking him, well, how do you handle this? He's like, oh, I didn't even know about that law. I didn't even know about that law. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I know you're not focused on this, but it's like a big risk now to put your business in and your clients if you don't know these laws. He's an absolute killer agent, just not a killer property manager. And the skill sets are way different. Like real estate agent, savvy, deal maker, hustler, on the phones, closing deals, negotiator, you know, sporadic, kind of emotional, you know, get things done. Whereas a property manager should be very steady, methodical, detail-oriented, patient, you know, making good long-term decisions versus just getting deals done. If you are a realtor who wants to offload some of your properties or have your clients get helped and not have to worry about that client getting poached, please check out our realtor referral program. We'll put a link below. This allows you to keep your client. We give you a $500 referral fee and life's good for everyone. All right, number 3 red flag when hiring a property manager is they don't know their numbers. So here are some basic ones, like average days to lease. All right, so we list the property. How long does it take to lease it? What is your vacancy rate? What is the average days to complete a maintenance request that a tenant puts in? Managers should know their numbers, and if people just say, oh, it's about this, well, ask them to look it up. They should be able to pull it up in their software and actually tell you, because those are just very straightforward metrics that a property manager should have. Average days to close a work order ticket, average days to lease a client's property, and their vacancy rate. Here's another bonus one, is how many doors do you have per employee? So when I was coming up in the business, the metric was like 1 employee per 100 doors. So one person could manage 100 doors. That is not true any longer. I mean, maybe if you had 100 doors and you weren't growing as a management company, one person could handle that with the right tech and stuff. But now I want to see a more healthy, like 50, maybe 75 doors max. At Good Life, we're currently closer to 30 doors per full-time employee, but just having extra bandwidth means that a company can grow. They have extra people on staff that can actually deliver an above average service, a great service, and not just be like traditional property manager that just does the bare minimum to get by. All right, number 4 is the phone call test. If they do not answer the phone when you're calling them to inquire about their service, you can go ahead and move on. I am passionate about this one, and that's why we track our phone pickup rates so closely at Good Life. We're only allowed to miss a certain amount of calls in operations and sales because picking up the phone is just 80% of the battle. It's the blocking and tackling. It's doing the basics that's so important. So I would reach out to my network. Generally, I'd look online, try to find a property manager that looks good online, maybe ask like your wealth manager or your realtor or someone in your network if they know one, and get 2 or 3 people and then just call them. And if they pick up, they pass the first test. If they don't pick up, move on. If they don't pick up the phone when you're not a client yet, why would they pick up the phone once you are a client? All right, number 5 red flag is if the manager gives you total control. Even if you think you want this, for most of you, you don't. And here's what I mean. I like to teach this as managers versus messengers to my team. We want to be the manager. We want to have the expertise, get approval from owners on the big things, but then have a strategy and a recommendation for the client with everything and get out in front of their questions in advance and be proactive and kind of be their consultant, their expert, right? Big M manager versus a messenger who's just there to kind of be a lapdog. It's like, hey, what do you need, owner? Hey, is this tenant okay? Is this repair okay? What vendor do you want me to use for this? Now, some owners really want control, and these are usually the ones that should be self-managing, but sometimes they can't because they live out of state, so they have to do this, and it just becomes a very, bad relationship for both sides. Because if you think about hiring a manager for any business, they should have some authority to do some things. They don't want to be micromanaged, right? They don't want to, have to get approval for every little thing. Now, there's big things they should be getting approval for. So setting the rent, right? Setting the lease term, that should be an owner decision. Big maintenance requests, like over $500 or whatever it is. So what decisions should an owner not make? Number 1, picking the tenant. Due to new laws that have come out in 2025 around rental screening and application processing, there's no subjectivity anymore in screening. You can't say, oh, I like this tenant because of this, or, they showed up on time, or this tenant, I like their, from my hometown versus this tenant. It's like all that stuff is over time. Yeah, you might get by, but it can catch you one of these days, and then you're in some nasty lawsuit, or at least a threat of a lawsuit over a fair housing violation. Objective criteria should be used. It also creates a buffer between you and the tenant. It seems weird at first. It did for me as an owner to not select the tenant because a lot of people are so used to that. But when you actually don't select the tenant and you actually let go of the vine and just let someone else handle it, now you're actually operating as a business owner. You have your manager who you trust is running things. Big decisions are coming up to you, but things like tenant selection, they're making those decisions. And hopefully they have some skin in the game. Like we have an eviction protection, guarantee. We pay for the eviction if it has to happen and that sort of thing. So look for that just to give you some peace of mind as well. The second thing is small repair decisions. Like I said, they should have a maintenance limit that they can make some small decisions. If they're having to go to you for every dollar that's spent, that just creates inefficiency, number 1. Number 2, it takes longer to fix things, which just frustrates the tenant. And 3, it just is a bad situation where everything needs to get pushed up to an owner. So although oftentimes as owners, I was there too, we're fearful at first to trust someone with our property because it's a big deal. And so we want to be very in control and like trust but verify. But we got to give the manager some authority. And if a manager up front is just like, anything you say, owner, like whatever you want, I'll call you for any repair, I'll call you about the tenant, I'll call you to see what you want to do about this. It's usually indicative of someone who's new to the industry, who doesn't understand their worth, maybe because they don't have it yet, maybe they don't have the expertise place yet. And so it can seem like this great thing, like, oh, I got this person that's just doing everything I want, but ultimately they're gonna make bad decisions. Unless you're an expert, you're often not gonna make the best decision, and it will be a frustrating experience for everyone more often than not. Last decision owners should not make is vendors they choose. So yeah, if you have like a great handyman or something, we love to be able to work with them if we vet them properly and they do a great job for us as well as you. But generally speaking, like, managers are gonna have their set of vendors. They're gonna wanna be in control of that because they're invoiced a certain way, they're used to working with them. So owners always dictating who the vendor is for every type of repair is also just something that doesn't usually work out for either side in the long run. So giving over too much control, a manager that's just like, all the control's yours, owner, that can be a red flag. So number 6, my favorite, is no pricing on the website. So about 10 years ago, I attended a seminar that changed my life. It was by a guy named Marcus Sheridan called They Ask You Answer. It was a marketing book, and it basically said a website is only as good as it helps people find what they're looking for quickly. And so to that time, no one ever put their pricing on their website. It was always like, oh, we can't let our competitors know what we charge, so call for a quote or something. I made a decision 10 years ago, transparent pricing. We're gonna put the pricing on the website. We're gonna say who we are on the website. We're gonna put our process on the website. We're gonna put everything on the website to be as transparent as possible, our fees, all that stuff. And what I love about that, and why I would recommend if like a family member was looking for a property manager that they have that, is it's just indicative of a transparency culture. It's like indicative of, hey, this is who we are. We're gonna attract people that resonate with this, and people that don't, you know, can go somewhere else. Because I've found that if they're still not in 2025 transparent about what they charge on their website, like what else are they gonna be not transparent about? They're making a public declaration of, we're gonna withhold information and you have to call and get the information. It just doesn't make sense, at least to me in 2025. So always make sure they have pricing on their website and you get a good transparent vibe. When you call their salesperson, this happens for our clients most of the time, prospective clients, is they've already read everything and they watched the videos, they've done all this stuff to where they might just have a few quick questions and then they're ready to sign. That's a much better experience for people and something that I highly recommend you look for when hiring a property manager. Picking the wrong property manager, costly mistake. You don't have to make those mistakes. I hope you learned something from my 6 red flags to look out for when hiring a property manager. If you want to go deeper, you can download How to Hire a Property Manager, our guide. I'll put a link in the description. It just goes into more details about how to make the decision, questions to ask, things like that. If you're a first-time landlord in Southern California or a seasoned investor and looking to get a hands-off, good life experience with your rental property, give us a call. We'd love to see how we can help. Visit our website and you can schedule a call easily there. Make it a good life.